welcome to a Year 5 edition of Teach Time Maths. Today we're going to be looking at the area of squares and rectangles. So I have here a square that I've drawn. So I'm going to use my ruler, I'm going to make sure it's on the centimetre side, and I'm going to measure the sides of my square. So if I go along, I can see that it is 6 centimetres. And if it's a square, that should mean that all the sides are the same length. I'll just double check. Yep. Perfect. All 6 centimetres. So that means that my height here, the height of my shape, is 6 centimetres. And the length of my shape is 6 centimetres. So the reason I have written height and length is because when you find out the area of a shape, you always times the height by the length. So height times length. On a square, it just means that you're timesing the same amount. So it would just be 6 times 6. So we still know what 6 times 6 is. So that's 36. Now I've been working in centimetres, so I put that down here, but when you work with area, you start to do centimetres squared. So when you do centimetres squared, all you do is you add a 2 after your centimetre. Sometimes you might be working in metres, so you would do metres squared. You might even be working in kilometres, so you do kilometres squared. But all of them still have the little 2 at the top. That just means that we're looking at the inside of this 2D shape. We're looking at the area. Okay, so I have a little challenge for you here. Oliver needs to work out the area of his window. There are 4 square panes. Each one is 15 centimetres on one side. What is the total area for all 4 panes? So I'm just going to circle the important information in there. So we don't need to worry about him working out the area of his window. We know that we're going to be looking at the area. If it helps, you can just circle area to help you know you're definitely looking at that. The next sentence is one of the important bits. There are 4 square panes. So we've got 4. We need to remember there's 4. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're square. Okay, that's going to be really important when we work out the lengths. Each one is 15 centimetres, always underline if you see a measurement. 15 centimetres on one side. Now it hasn't told us any other measurements, and that's because it's already told us that they're squares. Now we know up here that a square, all the sides are the same length, so Oliver doesn't need to tell us any more lengths. We already know that it's 15 centimetres on each side. And he wants us to work out the total area for all 4 panes. So not only do we need to work out the area for one, we then need to times that by 4. Or we could just add it 4 more times. So let's work out one of them together. So I've got 15 on one side and 15 on the bottom. So I need to do 15 times 15, okay? Height times length. So I always like to split it up into different numbers. So the way I do that is a grid method. If I'm doing 2-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers. So that means I split it up into 15 into 10 and 5, and again 10 and 5, just because it can get quite complicated, and this is a really quick way to know that you've got the answer right. So 10 times 10 is 100, 10 times 5 is 50, and again down here 10 times 5 is 50, and then 5 times 5 is 25. So now I've just got to add my numbers together. So 100 add 50 makes 150, 50 add 25 makes 75, and I've just got to add these 2 numbers together, which I know makes 225. So the area of one window pane is 225, let me check what measurement we're on, centimetres squared. Okay, so I know that's going to be the same for all of the panes. Your challenge now, you can pause the video if you'd like, I want you to work out how much the total area is. So what is all of those added together? Okay, pause it now and see if you can work it out. Okay, let's go through it then. So one easy way we can do this is column addition. So I've got 225 and I'm just writing that out 4 times because I've got 4 window panes. Oh, let's write it at the top so we've got a bit more room. So 5 add 5 makes 10. So I'm going to put that there. 5 and 5, well I've got another 10 now. So I've got 0 units. I've got 2, add 2, add 2, add 2. I know that 4 times 2 is 8. Then I've also carried on 2 more. So 8 add 2 is 10. So I'm going to add that here and put another 0. I've already worked out what 4 times 2 is. I know it's 8, but I'm adding my 1 here at the bottom. So 8 add 1 is 9. So that makes 900 centimetres in total, but we need to remember to add our squared. So 900 centimetres squared. And all I've done there, the only thing I've done different is I've just added all of the areas together. Haven't done anything fancy, I haven't times or divided anything. I've just worked out the area of 1, and I know that they're all the same. It says up here each one is 15 centimetres on one side. And they're all square, so I know that they're going to be 15 times 15 on each of them. Okay? But instead of having to work out the area for each one, I've skipped that all out because I read the question carefully. And so I know that all of them are going to be the same. And all I've got to do is just times that number by 4 or add it together to make 900 centimetres squared. So let's have a look this time at the area of rectangles. So it's still the same formula, it's still the height times by the length. Now I've just written H and L here, okay? Still means the same thing, height is still here, length is still here. It's just a bit easier to read when you're looking at the shape. So I'm going to use my ruler, I'm going to make sure it's on centimetres, and we're going to measure. So we know that a rectangle has pairs of sides, so they're not going to be the same, are they? So I count down, I've got 4 centimetres for my height, and my length is going to be different. So I count all the way along, and it's 8 centimetres. So what I've got to do now is do the height, so 4 centimetres, times by the length, which is 8 centimetres. So 4 times 8, if you don't know that off the top of your head, if you know 5 times 8 is 40, just take away an extra 8, so that makes 32. And then we're still in centimetres. And remember your very important centimetres squared. Now you don't always have to work in centimetres squared. A lot of the time in SATS papers or in any test, you might get one where it gives you kilometres or metres, and at the bottom it will say here not to scale. If it says not to scale, that just means don't bother measuring it, because they haven't cared about it being perfect, because they've already given you the numbers. They might have given you the numbers in a question, or they might have written them on the side of the shape. So if it says not to scale when you're reading it, don't try measuring it, because it won't be right. So I'm going to work on the first one over here. Now it says here, I've just done it really big in the middle so you can see it clearly, but each of these measurements are working in kilometres. Okay, so a kilometre, remember, it's 1,000 times a metre. It's even bigger than a metre. So I've got 11 kilometres, times by 6 kilometres. Okay? Now, I know anything up to 9 times 11 is just double the first number. So I know that 11 times 6 is 66. Now I need to check my unit of measurement, so that means what I'm measuring in. I remember here that it's kilometres, and remember the all-important squared. Okay. Now we're back to centimetres again. For this one I can see clearly on each measurement and in the middle. So I'm doing 12 times 14. So you can do grid method if you like for this one. I'm going to do it just so that it's clear for you to see what I'm doing for each step. So I'm going to, let's draw it out first. I'm going to split 12 in the top into 10 and 2, and 14 down the side into 10 and 4. So I know that 10 times 10 is 100, 10 times 2 is 20, 10 times 4 is 40, and then 4 times 2 is 8. I'm just going to add those together to make 168. So I know the total area for this one is 168, check here, centimetres squared. Now this last one I'm going to get you to pause the video and do it by yourself. So I've got 7 metres times 20 metres, okay? Okay, so let's have a go through this one together. So all we're doing is 7 times 20. Now whenever I see something times 20, all I do is I start with 7 times 2. Now I know that 7 times 2 is 14, and then I just got to add my 0 on the end. Okay, I'm working in metres, and I need to square it. So that makes 140 metres squared. So that's just a brief introduction into area of squares and rectangles. In future videos I might reference back to this, or I might do a bit more in-depth learning into it. But to help you for now, there is a worksheet on Facebook for you to have a look through. Don't spend more than 10 to 15 minutes on this. If you get stuck, put a comment in the pictures, or if you want to show off your work afterwards, you will get a virtual sticker. We've got Star Wars stickers, we've got dog stickers, we've got all kinds. So if you want to show off your work and get a sticker, you can do. Just leave a comment in the Facebook page and we'll be able to give you a virtual sticker. Have fun, everyone.